Hello and welcome to Benno and Hamflett in Your House, a podcast reviewing WWE's iconic New Generation B shows in order from the bust back to the boom. I'm Michael Hamflett.
And I'm Benno. And this is Housekeeping. It's our first one in 1997. Happy New Year, Michael. Happy 1997. What's going on in your life, mate? But I'm about to turn 13. It's a big old year in my life, you know. The school team's doing quite good in football at Manor High, you know. Everton aren't doing too great, but there's a cup run that was only a year and a half ago, so there's that to be excited about as well. Don't know how Sunderland are doing for you guys right now, but yeah, happy to be here back in time.
Yeah, very much so. I'm entering the Christmas after year 7 in school. So when you first go to high school and you're a little child sharing the same yard with 16-year-olds. There's something about coming back after. It shouldn't work, should it? There's something about coming back after that Christmas break where you kind of feel like you belong a little bit now, and within 6 months you're not going to be the smallest one. So I think there's a nice comfort there, which is good. Funny you mentioned the football, Benno, because one of your own, the great man himself, Peter Reid, is leading a revolution at Sunderland at this time. Wow. We are still chasing the tails of Newcastle United somewhat, but we're smashing them in derbies, and we're well on our way to. I think we get promoted and we get relegated, but then you may recall it was a 97-98 season where we lost the playoff final to Charlton. That people remember as this classic game at Wembley, but when you're a Sunderland fan, you don't care because you lost it. You know, it was the one that went to 4-4 and then 6-5 or 7-6 on penalties, whatever it was. And then after that, we romped the championship, and it was kind of all the building blocks were being put in place by Peter Reid at this point. We were about to leave, again, very sort of familiar feeling for you right now. We were about to leave the historic Roker Park to make way for the futuristic Stadium of Light. You've experienced your own version of that with Goodison of late. It's time's a flat circle, mate. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
I was just looking it up in popular culture. Scream came out in January 1997. Jerry Maguire as well. I believe Michael Jackson's History on Film came out. Not the album History, unfortunately. That would have been a bigger deal as well. But I love that because Peter Reid, to be honest, he's been Everton's best player during the start of the Everton season. In that they had that Legends game, didn't they, at the start of the 2025 season, where he literally put a full kit on and went out and played for 3 minutes, it felt like, but that was it was like getting Jose Lothario to work a match in 1997. I'm guessing they're just roughly the same age based on what they both look like there. But no, I didn't know there was that link to 97, and it works out well. It was always weird that period. You mentioned their school in 1997. I can always remember that. I think you're right. I feel like January would have felt like you bedded in. It felt a bit like Steve Austin coming as the ringmaster, and then he gets rebranded to Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's comfortable in his own skin. He's off to the races. That is very much like my old school run back in the day when I was at Manor High School in Crosby, the school that Craig from Big Brother went to a few years later.
Nice, I didn't know that.
So, yeah, that's the
good trivia.
I think he was 2 years ahead of me in school. Don't remember seeing him around the school, but there you go. A little local school legend we had in there as well. But you do hit that point though, where you hit year 8, you hit year 9, and all of a sudden, the young ones, they look like they're all about 3, and they all you start talking about them as the kids have just started because you're all very grown up and very adult. But no, I was definitely in that period as well, where obviously I was still the only lone wrestling fan in my school, and I don't even think by January 1997 anybody had quite joined me yet.
I don't know if this is too much information, but I feel like we've shared plenty at this point as well. By 1997, this was the home straight for me as a house without Sky and the internet. We will get to the 2-week period in October 1997 where I get both. So I go from being a cave person to having all of digital entertainment at my fingertips over the period of 7 days in October 1997. So this is the last sort of strain of me having to beg, borrow, and steal tapes from friends or from my dad's mates or work colleagues or uncles or whatever. And let's just say 1997 is the year I most associate with them. How can I put this delicately? Keeping my fingers crossed that they just leave the tape running when the Fed finished.
Yes.
There's the people of a certain age that will understand my reference there. And the Royal Rumble 1990.
Music you maybe heard,
Yeah. The Royal Rumble 1997 for some reason jumps out at one that ended. It had that little Texan theme to it all, and then it would end, and then you would get that Sky Sports looping music where it advertised what Monday Night Football was on. And then, as if by magic, it would turn midnight and just different times, wouldn't it?
Pixelating the screen did a lot of work, but you could still hear it if you were really desperate. That was maybe the story of my 1997, and that's way too much detail. Yeah, I can't remember if in 97 we had Sky Sports or not, and whether I'd have that plausible deniability to leave it on a Friday, because we go through those periods that I'm sure we've talked about on here a few times, where, like, you know, depending on how Everton were doing and depending on how much my dad was feeling flushed that given year, we'd have Sky Sports through to, you know, the end of the season come May time, and then we'd lose it, and then it, like, for the entire summer, me and our Peter would literally be doing that, watching the pixelated version of Sky Sports just to hear the commentary, so that we could hear the Monday Night Raw highlights on a Friday. We'd always get it back come August, September, so it was always an exciting period. So I'm guessing we had it in January 97, but I can't quite pinpoint it for me.
Benno, you've put the perfect through ball for me here, so it'd be rude not for me to tap in from a yard out. Will you just, if you're able to right now, will you just Google Sunderland Everton May 1997? Just while that's just popped into my head, because I mean I was there and it was the last ever league game.
3rd of May 1997 is this?
3rd of May 1997. On this day in
1997. The SFC Black Cats on YouTube tell me that on this day in 1997 the lads beat Everton 3-0. Oh no, is that our future? If I could sign myself to that when we play this once again in January of 2026.
Yeah. You were history makers. That was the last ever league game at Roker Park. It wasn't the last. You'll like how this ends. It wasn't the last ever game at Roker Park. They played one last exhibition match where everybody said their tearful goodbyes, and that was a 1-0 victory over Liverpool. So, you know, we did the right thing. We put the real Scouse enemies to the sword when we bid our fond farewell to Roker Park.
I've just realised why I can't remember anything from January 1987. Apparently, January 1987 is when Everton sold their top-scoring winger, Andrei Kanchelskis, to Fiorentina. I always remember how devastated I couldn't believe we got him in the first place, and he played for Everton after loving him at Man United. Oh, yeah, that's when we got rid of him. So when Joe Royle was the manager, it's unlocking memories now. I remember going to, like, there was a point where Everton, speaking of moving grounds, they were moving, like, you know, where they do the training. Like, I think they were moving either to or from Belfield. I can't remember where it was at the time. So, like, for, like, at least the first few months of 1997, they were literally doing training at, like, the park down the road from my house. Like, I haven't thought about this in years, but, like, can't remember the name of the park. It was in Netherton somewhere in Merseyside. And literally, they just corner off parts of the park, set some fucking jumpers for goalposts down, and you'd literally have the Everton team just training, doing drills, going through, like, you know, you'd see the starting 11s, you'd see, like, literally, and, like, me and my mates would go down every day just to get a view of it and try and watch the training. And then some of my more unscrupulous mates from school would go down there just with the idea of stealing some memorabilia or running off with some balls or something like that. Nobody really hung around for autographs or anything because it was 1997 Everton, and yeah, we didn't really want, you know, Michael Branch or Michael Ball or whoever else. I think Angie Hinchcliffe was big at the time. Earl Barrett, I think, was going. I think Dunk would have been. Yeah, Dunk would have still been about. In 1997, Gary Speed and the lads. Obviously, we'd have Nick Barmby in '97 as well. I can't remember whether I saw him training or not. But it all comes back because I remember seeing Joe Royle, like, speeding out of the ground and trying to get his autograph and stuff like that as well. But yeah, literally, would that happen now in 2025 with a Premier League team do training just at, like, some footy pitch that you can play jumpers for goalposts in on a Sunday afternoon? Such was the times.
I'd shit myself if I saw Wilson Isidore in Asda. Like, never mind going, like, doing his training in the park. Like, I'm assuming that footballers get to, like, operate through those, like, underground tunnels or blacked out window Uber sort of things. They no longer need to mix us. Look, if nothing else, like, we can both agree that the Danker Everton kits were, like, Hall of Famers, weren't they? Absolute all-timers. Home and away.
And stuff as well. I'd wear that still.
The dark collar. Yeah.
To this day as well, but I think that's going to be a fun Benno and Hamflett when obviously coming up we do play each other and we get to we can survey the damage on an upcoming housekeeping. I just hope we both do well, mate. I'm just guessing by the time people listen to this, we're first and second in the league, and obviously the great pattern continues for both great clubs.
We've no reason to say otherwise, have we? Even to the extent where, and maybe this is not going to be, like, borne out on the night itself, but I like to think it would be. The years of Sunderland dodging relegation that were brought to a crushing halt by a Mr. David Moyes, he's been forgiven for his crimes against Sunderland, because over time it's become very clear that A, we were a complete basket case, and B, he was suffering the damage that was done. He'd lost his smile managing Man United. That's what had happened.
Massively.
The Moyes toys had lost his smile managing Man United. Sunderland were the unfortunate victims of that. And then look what happens when he goes back into management via West Ham and Everton. He's just repaired all of his reputational damage, and we got to be the ones that suffered the worst David Moyes run ever. Like, that's all it was. So
the analogy works so well as well, because when he comes into Sunderland, what does he do? He tries to bring all the old stars back. Well, the Everton stars back. He's like, who should we sign? Victor Anichebe. Stephen Pienaar. He's not finished yet.
Stephen Pienaar.
Did Jagielka go there as well? It was like pretty much the whole Moyes 20.
Rodwell became an all-time worst. Yeah. Awful.
That's his equivalent of trying to get the Rock and Roll Express going in 1997.
But yeah, no, and you know, to your point as well, like, I suppose, like, whether it was like football through Sky Sports or whatever, I still think, even when I look back on 1997, one of the reasons why, like, I cherish it so much is because we've talked about this is the last period where, you know, we might be in your house on this podcast, but wrestling still wasn't in anybody's house, was it?
No.
Like, it was still just for us. Like, it wasn't on the playground. It wasn't in the conversations. The magazines weren't necessarily in the news agents. You were still working for it around this time.
I'm so excited for the 1997 to come. Like, I love 96. I'm glad, you know, we've gone through it in finite detail, because it is like maybe rose-tinted spectacle, but, you know, the happiest time of my life being a 12-year-old following Shawn Michaels world heavyweight champion. But you're totally right. 1997 is like the awakening before the awakening. 1997, you say there, it's like, yeah, my family would have had Sky. Did we have Sky Sports in and out? But did we get the internet? We got it a couple of years later. But I started going to, like, literally, this is how old we are, Michael. I am old enough to say I went to go on the internet. I'd go to my local library, and in there I'd be reading the dirt sheets. In there I'd be on stonecoldstinger.com or whatever website I was on, getting all the news about my two favorite wrestlers, Sting and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like, I'd be buying Power Slam in 1997, and, like I say, turning 13 then as well, and becoming a little bit more of a smart fan, a little bit more, like, in my mind, adult. I was keeping more of an eye out for WCW. I was keeping more of an eye out for ECW, and it's a fondly remembered period for me, because it's like I'm intaking all this information that I'm getting off the internet and from the magazines. And shout out to Finn Martin for bringing that all to our front door. But also, like, I'm just, as a fan, I'm kind of maturing. As a fan, I'm getting more excited about it all. And as a fan, I'm seeing in real time things clearly getting better in all three companies. But you're absolutely right. The key is it's before all the other bandwagon jumpers jump on. It's probably January 1998 when everyone comes back from Christmas holidays and all of a sudden loves wrestling again and loves Stone Cold Steve Austin, and, you know, never stopped watching when Hulk Hogan fucked off in the early 90s. They were always in the trenches with us. But yeah, we were the real ones who were knocking around in 1997, and yeah, it was great. And, like, all of, like, the hallmarks of what would become the Attitude Era and what would become, you know, peak WCW were all very much there. But it was ours, wasn't it? It was us, the ones who'd weathered the storm, and the ones who were still there.
Well, you know, it's we've started by saying hello to a new year, but I've put it off long enough. It's in the words of Andrea Bocelli and Sarah Brightman, it's time to say goodbye. Along this In Your House journey, we have tracked the lifetimes and eyeballs of Shawn Michaels, and those eyeballs were pointed pretty sharply at one man through 1996, and it wasn't Bret the Hitman Hart. No, it is time to say farewell to trademark Benno, Hans Moleman himself, as we recap the Royal Rumble 1997 and the final appearance of one Jose. Walking down the ring at the final time, having, of course, been hit with the camera right in the heart in November, having had Sid powerbomb Pete Lothario onto a table on the go-home edition of Raw, with poor Jose looking on at home as his son gets dragged into the mess. Shawn has one more shift to do with the main man himself. This is it. Leave the memories alone, mate.
Massively. And it's just good that they booked for, you know, an event and a place that's suiting up Jose Lothario, because I'm pretty sure they could rely on 70,000 people to come out the houses to say goodbye to all that. If anything, they should have sold it more, shouldn't they? This is the last time you're going to see him. He's not just going to fade into the background like many of the other characters we've covered at RIP and peace across these In Your Houses. But yeah, he was truly going to be gone for good. They should have made a bit better sell job of it, mate, and it might have put them over the edge.
Can you imagine, like, a timeline where, like, it's 1997, we're going to get to it, but, like, it's DX, they've chased Bret, of all people, out of the company. Shawn's at his megalomaniacal worst. He's playing strip poker on Raw with his dick and bollocks out for the world to see. And then he just comes up with the idea. He says, can I get heat on Jose? Can we bring in Jose? And they have like China hit him in the bollocks and have Triple H hit him with a pedigree. You just cannot visualize a timeline where Jose ever, after this.
Oh my God.
The two men could not be further apart, could they? Shawn Michaels and Jose. Like, I bet Jose is like, I'm going to miss the money, but I'm not going to miss this motherfucker. Like, I just...
All I can picture now is like 1997 Fed and like DX come out, and instead of Rick Rude in the suit, it's Jose Lothario stood in the corner while Shawn's mooning the camera and Hunter's getting his dick out. Crotch chopping. Like, we could have had it. That could have been our future. I feel like if that had happened, the Attitude Era might have been delayed. That might actually be the secret sauce here. It's not the rise of Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's getting Jose out the fucking way, because it'd be literally like literally us as, turning into teenagers, or you turn into 12 and getting to that point where you start to think you're an adult now and not a kid, and your dad's just stood in the corner, or your granddad in this case. That's what Jose Lothario would have been. You have to take the granddad element out so Shawn could be his unique teenage self in his 30s.
Do you know what we'd be talking about to this day? We'd be talking about the famous night in the Monday Night Wars when Jose Lothario appeared on both channels at the same time, because Eric Bischoff would 100% sign him out of spite, and then Jose Lothario would be booked to manage Brett in WCW, and they think this will get one over on the Fed. We'll put Jose with Brett. That'll show him. Like, that's what could have been. He'd be in the Jose like World Order t-shirt sort of thing on his first night in his suit.
See, he could have been Ralphus before Ralphus, couldn't he? You probably wouldn't even have to explain it to him, because he probably wouldn't have understood. He probably would have just assumed he's going to work like it's any other day. Where's Shawn? Where's Vince? Vince has got a bit younger. I like his hair, looking at like Eric Bischoff across the corridor. Meanwhile, he just gets wheeled out for that momentary laugh. We could have had future. We could have years of it. He could have been involved in the invasion, 2001. Maybe Shawn wouldn't have had the owie on his back and the other owie we're about to talk about today. Maybe that might have made Shawn stick around. It could have been. There might not have been any Montreal Screwjob if Jose had stuck around. History could be so different, mate. It really could.
Yeah, the Jose Lothario.
And Austin was after opponents in '98 as well. So there you go.
Of course.
Plugged in there.
It's like Stone Cold versus Super Sock. Like, finally, like think of the loop in Texas. Them two could have. Honestly, like,
money.
Never before, and probably never again, will there be like a podcast that does the Jose Lothario alternative timeline. Like, nobody has seen him as such an integral figure as this podcast right here. Remember that if you're listening. Why you join us on this journey? We will go under the hood of the wrestling nobody else wants to. And look, WWE did here. Like, Sid loses to Shawn. It appears that the Psycho Sid World Champion experiment is over. More on that later on in this very housekeeping. As Shawn gets the belt back, as was the plan all the way back in the summer of 1996. When they booked the Alamo and they said, Shawn, we're going to take the belt off you, but you're going to win it back in January. So you put over Vader, right? And obviously none of that ever happens. We get what we get with Sid. The world changes 20 times. And Shawn gets it done. He's kind of leaning more towards a babyface than like he wears those Benno incredible red Texas-shaped Heartbreak Kid pants with the state instead of the heart on them. He's got the black hat on because he's kind of more of an edgy guy now. He's not the white meat babyface anymore, but he is home and he does win. And they don't sell 70,000 on this main event. They do shift 60. And as we've talked about before, if you went into a Taco Bell in San Antonio, you were getting tickets for you and 10 of your friends. If you contacted the local radio station, you didn't need to win a competition. You just had to turn up at reception. They were putting arses in seats, but not many of those arses paid for it.
I mean, the bit I read in the Observer that it was Taco Bell locations throughout southern Texas and on cans of Dr. Pepper. And I was like, you're just trying to like reach like 2025 Benno, because I love Dr. Pepper. I love Taco Bell. Like, I'd have been there, mate. I wouldn't even if I didn't care about that wrestling stuff, I'd have taken 10 tickets just from the amount of both of those foods I would have consumed. But they were clearly desperate, weren't they? You say that. Like, I think it was the paid number something like 48,000, and obviously, with those comps, they do get past 60,000, but like I still think that's massively impressive. You know, when we did the Shawn show on Grapple, I think it gets undersold because, you know, it's like anything, isn't it? Well, yeah, but they could have got 78,000. You know, they could have had 70,000. You know, they could have hit the shoot WrestleMania 3 number with the amount of bums you could put in those seats. But considering what they had, considering where we are, like in the doldrums of Fed, and like we keep saying that we have all the ingredients are there, just the match hasn't been struck yet. Like I think that's an achievement. I think it really is, and I don't think you credit like there's a lot of lucha guys on this show. Obviously Terry Funk as well. At the they added quite a few bells and whistles to try and put them over the edge. But like even if it's just you look at the paid number and don't look at the people who came through the door for free, that's a lot of people for like the 1996 WWF roster in 1997.
Massively so, yeah. It's almost quite jarring at the time. I didn't really pick this up when I was younger, but certainly watching it back for this and whenever I've done a Raw rewatch, it's quite jarring to hear how much they talk with such reverence about doing this big stadium, because then it hits you. Then you realize, God, it was SummerSlam 92. The last time they were able to even attempt something this big was 4 years ago, and it was Wembley. WrestleMania has gone. Like,
so
like
you just put them on 4 years ago.
Well, yeah. 4 years ago, which now would be 2022 as we record this, pretty much. But like 4 years ago, like in terms of like WWE in that era, like they ran WrestleMania. Think about this run of WrestleManias that we've missed, right? They ran it in a car park in Las Vegas. They ran it in old, reliable Madison Square Garden. They ran it in a civic center in Stamford, Connecticut. And they ran it in the Anaheim Pond, which was historically one of those like safe buildings. And that was when you had Shawn and Brett against each other in the main event. This is a big old swing. You remind me a lot of like the conversation we'll have over like AEW here in the present day, continuing to run Wembley. They'll never in a generation touch the number of All In 2023. But there's nothing like be shy about the 45,000 you're doing in its place in the subsequent years. It's not a number to sort of run in fear from. It's one to celebrate, because how many people have ever put 40,000 plus in a building? You know, it's like
massively so.
It's impressive. It's especially now, like you say, what are they really promoting here? The hometown boy comes home to win the belt and the Royal Rumble gimmick match itself. That's about it, isn't it? You know, that's what they've got to sell the show with.
Massively so. And like, you scared me there. It's just, it's the pure numbers of it. Cause you mentioned there about AEW running Wembley. Like that's going to be, the original one of them is going to be 4 years ago in about 18 months. So fuck, that's time for you, isn't it? That just tells you everything. But it shows you like, again, it's so limited. Like joke about WrestleMania 3, but the numbers for that are disputed, but that's one of the only other comparisons as well. Like it's on there on like the, the top 10 attendances of all time. And it's happening during like the doldrum period of the WWF. And like I say, I think some historians want to give that credit to that Terry Funk was on the card, or want to give that credit to, like I say, the AAA guys who were on that card. And maybe one day we'll review it in full, because the crowd doesn't react to them like they're the reason they're there. When you get to that Rumble match as well. It's the Rumble, and it's just the old-fashioned promotion of it and the pushing of it being Shawn's big match. Like, and I guess that was the selling point too. To be fair, we scratched out. Maybe I scratched more than you, but when you talk about Shawn dropping the belt to Sid, it was kind of like that's a bit of an odd thing. And clearly, the sell job was, well, yeah, you're going to lose it there, Shawn, but you're going to win it back in San Antonio in front of 50,000 people, and that's going to put some bums in seats. And there's arguments over the years of like, maybe the three worst Jordan WWF champions of all time, Brett, Diesel, and Shawn. But I don't think you could say Shawn is the worst when you put this number in front of it. Like, I think this has got to be, a notch on his bedpost.
Absolutely. And I think as well, like because Nitro hadn't yet, like WWE were never as hot on promotion as WWE ever really, but like Nitro hadn't ran the Georgia Dome yet. The fullness of the like WCW go on to have the most profitable year in 1998 rather than 1997, so they still spend 1997 in those like relatively conservative sized buildings, considering just how big Nitro, like they're not equipped for a sudden boom in the way that like WWE's already got the infrastructure for it, I guess. So like you still get another year of them in kind of like 95, 96 buildings on Nitro. And it's only in 98 when the Georgia Dome becomes a more familiar setting. I know WCW run a bigger house in Chicago than WWE draws for WrestleMania, I think. And that was like quite a fun flex for them, because WWE run the All-State. And I don't know if WCW ran the All-State or they ran the United Center, but they get a bigger number paid, basically. And it's fun for them to be able to say, look, we can turn up in a WWF town and we can outdraw them now. But WWF can show look, well, I thought you were the big boys now, and look at us still hoying 50,000 people in the building for our supposedly. It's a flex, isn't it? Like, it's the opposite of fake Razor and Diesel and Huckster and Nacho Man and all those really weak, limp attempts to like fire back at the NWO. Sometimes do what you're good at, which is selling the shit out of a big wrestling show.
Yeah, that's wrestling, and that's, to be honest, not to turn it into an AW conversation. AW don't do that enough sometimes. They don't do that. Like, on the ground local promotion. They should be in Taco Bells up and down the country. They should be on Dr. Pepper cans. Like, whatever you can do to make it look as impressive as this show does. And yeah, massive achievement.
And let's talk not just about, obviously, Shawn and Sid. It's not a great match, to be honest. Shawn is working it extremely ill. He gets another decent showing out of Sid. But it's not one that kind of compares to the Survivor Series match. And the big talking point anyway is not the hometown hero coming home and winning big. It's about his arch rival losing even bigger. The Royal Rumble, of course, Steve Austin very much gets a run mirroring Diesel's in 1994, but the difference here is that Austin gets it twice. He clears the field once, and then it fills back up, and he doesn't get eliminated. He clears the field again, and the second time of asking, Bret the Hitman Hart is the big one out, and they get their standoff in the ring, and you finally get a glimpse of Bret and Steve together again for the first time, really, since the Survivor Series. And then the match continues on, and of course, it plays out controversially as Bret the Hitman Hart finally deals with his Steve Austin problem by throwing the rattlesnake out the ring. But the referees are distracted with the brawl going on between Mankind and Terry Funk. So Austin just sneaks back in. In the time that Austin sneaks back in, Bret the Hitman Hart dumps Diesel, and he isn't there to see Austin get back in. So Austin dumps The Undertaker and Vader, who are brawling by the ropes. He dumps Bret the Hitman Hart. And then the referees have dealt with a brawl, and they look at an empty ring and they see Steve Austin, and he's announced as the winner. He goes off, arms raised aloft. He's done what he said he was going to do, kind of. And he's announced as the winner of the Royal Rumble. The fans are pretty happy to see it. And of course, the one man who is not is Bret the Hitman Hart. He's absolutely incensed with what's gone on in a, frankly, chilling foreshadowing of what happens in Montreal in November. And more of that in a minute. He goes to the announce table and he's in Vince's face. He's grabbing him by the shoulders. He's pointing us and saying, he's screaming, you're going to let this stand. You're going to let it stand. Even Jerry Lawler, a man who's done like a bit of a bit in the Rumble with Bret as a throwback to the feud, looks just like, oh my God, this is not the Bret I remember fighting with. What is something snapped inside the Hitman? You know, Jim Ross is kind of wearing his black hat now. He's kind of falling in line and he's kind of saying, we've never seen this Bret Hart before. The whiner, the complainer, and controversy reigns heading into the Raw after the Rumble, which we'll kind of talk about the consequences. But this is, I guess, something that took me back here to when we covered Mind Games. Sorry, not Mind Games. Buried Alive, where yet again, as big as the pay-per-view is, they are very much thinking sequentially about these things, and it's like I've referred to this a million times on What Culture podcasts. This is the era when we hit this. Here we go, the pay-per-view Sunday night. It's the end of the world, and then the world ends, and they're all of a sudden saying, "You're not going to believe it. New world starting in 24 hours. You better be there for it." Like, this is that. Like, they will sell you the end of the world every single night from here on out.
Yeah. And it's a gimmick, isn't it? You can't do it every time. Like, you know, it works because there's always been pretty much, other than maybe the 5-star match review we're going to talk about today, a definitive Rumble winner. And like, to just do a little bit. When you haven't got much else to play with, you know, you look at the list of names of that 1987 Rumble, it's hardly a who's who. Like, the roster is quite thin. It's top heavy because of, you know, the guys that we're talking about, but it's still quite thin up and down. So you have to be creative with the creative, and that's what they are, because it was a stroke of genius. Like, it gave you, you know, the controversial ending that made you want to tune into the TV later on, but it also gave you that, like, it can't be lost in the conversation, that cathartic Steve Austin moment, because I've been trying to pinpoint it, like we talked about on the last Housekeeping, like, at what point do Bret and Steve kind of switch roles? And like we keep saying, officially there's not really a double turn, but it's almost like the punctuation on it when they do the double turn, you know, with the big match at WrestleMania. But it's, you know, it's baby steps on the way there. And this to me feels like, and we've talked about Austin in this incarnation, you know, only a couple of months ago, where it felt like he was still doing all of this stuff that he does in this Rumble match, all of this bullshit for Heat. I think he's kind of doing it for Heat still, but I think really the idea is, you know what, you've actually got permission to cheer him. And this is, to me, this Rumble is the moment where it kind of finally really felt like the company were going, he's still a baddie, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, but kind of elbowing you and giving you the permission to cheer him because he's just chewing scenery in this Rumble. Like every part of it, tapping his watch, like sitting on the corner, waiting for people to come out. Like he's just battering the whole whatever's left of this roster in 1987. They've just gone, you know what? You're on the rise. The rest of these are jobbers. Just batter a load of people. And he does. And it really does feel like the company giving you that permission. And also, like you say, giving you that like cliffhanger that makes you want to tune in. And also giving the Bret character the justification to be genuinely mad at the end of it and to be actually right about everything. That tends to be the case with the Bret Hart character and the Bret Hart human being. But it does both things. It also allows you to kind of go, yeah, but it was fun though, wasn't it, when Austin did that? What a knobhead. Kind of like it. Like, this is the most permission I think they've given us so far.
I think it's summed up, and it's you point out brilliantly there. Like Steve Austin never mind maximizing the minutes. The man is maximizing every single second he's out there. And considering how many seconds he's given the fat end of an hour to gobble up the entire new generation, basically, chew it up and spit it out. And absolutely the right call as well. Like it pisses me off no end in the modern era, and this is not like some sort of no, it's the children that are wrong, but you can really see a younger generation that grew up with like 50-50 book WWE that sort of forget what a push looks like. Yes. Sometimes a lot of people have just got to look at the lights and eat some shit because a star's on the rise. And and what happens is you need to have that star beat people. And what better way than the Royal Rumble to effectively, you might as well like pretend that this is like 29 1-2-3s, right? Like it's as if he's pinned 20. Like, he's not pinned them, but he's gobbling so many. He's chewing up Phineas Godwin and he's throwing out Bart Gunn. He's like, I think there's one point where he's in there with Jake the Snake, and you think, hang on, these two were like joined at the hip with the King of the Ring a year ago, and now look at them. Jake Roberts is a piece of shit on Steve Austin's shoe. Like that's how these figures should be at this point. Like it'd be the same if you put him in there with Savio Vega and the like. It's just there are levels to this game, and Steve Austin has advanced past all of them, and this is how you book it. I absolutely love. Everybody will know the bit I'm talking about because it's the most famous of the bunch. He's already chewed up half the roster, and he's had his first rest, and then he does it again. And he's knackered, and he's seeing the sweat pour off. And this time he's trying to be cocky, but he's taking a seat on the post. And it's when Bret's music hits, the sting of the music. And Austin's first reaction is to put his hands to his head and go, oh, God. And then, as you point out, that he's kind of becoming a bit of a baby face too, the shock turns into, oh, right, come on then, you fucker. And it's like, that's baby face. That is a baby face, like if he was cowering or he was whatever, that's one thing. But he goes from, oh shit, to being like, right, no, grit my teeth, let's get on with this, let's fight. It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
And it's a bit like, the picture in picture, like back and forth. We talked about them on a couple of housekeepings ago. Like he irons some of those elements out of his character going forward, but also like the Steve Austin heel run a couple of years later. Because he's funny, because he's entertaining with it, you're kind of forgiving of it too, aren't you? You kind of almost like him more as well. But like you say, the only thing that could be like a better booking of Steve Austin in this Royal Rumble, like going over all the jobbers, is if like a blonde-haired ringmaster came out and he chucked him out the other side as well, or he slipped off the apron like he did with Fatu the year before. Because literally a year before, that's what he was doing in the Rumble '96. 1 calendar year ago, like he was the ringmaster and he was in this Rumble, and like depending on who you believe, he got eliminated earlier than he was supposed to. That's how bad a night of the office it was for him. And here we are now. And literally, he couldn't be he's like 10 times the star the ringmaster was. Like, it's unbelievable. And all the other ringmaster equivalents on the roster after each shit outside of Bret, because he's Steve Austin. Like the fact that even, we talk about the Final Four, the fact that he's like, he chucks out Vader as well. Vader's part of like the crew he chucks out with Undertaker as well. Like, because he's lapped Vader too. He's more important than him in the grand scheme of things too. It's an unbelievable rise this year.
And it does take us quite neatly into our Raw the next night. Again, this era where, and I believe on commentary once on this show, they call it a war zone, or they say Raw is war, and they're trying to curate a sense of chaos that would ultimately become the norm in how they produce television. What, for the next 25 years? Like it's just pretty much
and counting.
The template of this is kind of established in episodes like this one ultimately, because it's live, which obviously helps. And you get the recap with stills of the Rumble, and they explain this. They don't tell you explicitly, but they say, with the controversy of what went down last night, you remember they've still got replays of the pay-per-view to sell. So I was like, with the controversy of what went down, we'll announce what's going to happen. Shawn Michaels is back on top, and he's going to defend the title at WrestleMania. But who's it going to be against? And that's when we realized there's been some sort of controversy between Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret the Hitman Hart. So we go to the Raw opening credits. The announcers are doing their intro. It's Vince, Jerry, and JR stood at ringside, teeing everybody up for this brilliant night. But before they can even finish their introduction, Bret the Hitman Hart has marched out to the ring. He snatches the microphone off Howard Finkel. Don't do that to the Fink, Bret. Come on. And he says, before the show starts, there's something I've got to say, and there's something I've got to say to you. And he points directly at Vince McMahon. None of the commentators have taken their seats yet. It's all very unsettled and not what WWF looks like typically in the blocking of it. Bret recaps why he re-signed with the WWF. He said, he said it about 6 times. You promised that I'd get a shot for the World Wrestling Federation Championship belt. I don't know who made all those 5 words into one, but he liked that. He said that he was going to come back, and if he was going to come back, he was going to win the World Wrestling Federation Championship belt. There's a moment here, and I love this detail, again, of Bret Hart very gradually teasing out that he's not the man he was. He says, you put me in the ring with Stone Cold Steve Austin in order to get my title shot. We know that's not true. We know that's not what happened. True. He wanted to come back and test his ego and test his mettle and make against the best. But now he's twisting it a little bit. He's got that deniability, but he's starting to get this warped version of the past. And again, that allows the fans into Steve Austin just a little bit more. But I did it. I beat Stone Cold Steve Austin, and I get my title shot. And then it's a bit convenient that when I finally get my shot at the World Wrestling Federation Championship belt, you got Shawn Michaels ringside. Coincidence? I don't think so. The boy toy cost me the World Wrestling Federation Championship belt. And you're like, so fine. So you make me win the Rumble. All I've got to do is win the Rumble. And I do win the Royal Rumble. And now I should get my shot at the World Wrestling Federation Championship belt. But I got Steve Austin screwing me. I've been screwed by Stone Cold Steve Austin. I've been screwed by Shawn Michaels, the boy toy. I've been screwed by the World Wrestling Federation. And I've been screwed by you. Right, first of all, pause. Was Vince McMahon just setting up the file footage for 12 months' time when he needed to use this for his Grand Montreal plan? Because it's a bit fucking on the nose, isn't it?
Now I'm turning into a conspiracy theorist, like you say, with the post-Rumble stuff. Maybe they were just piecing the footage together. Maybe there's a house show somewhere where they did WCW in the air and they spliced that in as well. Maybe it is all a work, as Matty's been trying to convince us over the years.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, it's great though, isn't it? Because it's just like,
yeah,
it does feel like we've gone on. We keep saying about this period, we've gone on fast forward, but like Bret Hart's gone from justified complainer to he's mostly justified, but those of us who feel like we've got a little bit of permission to cheer Steve a bit here, kind of going, you're kind of right here. You're not a bit of a whiner, aren't you, Bret? Like you are kind of just, it doesn't quite work, does it, for this goody juice Bret that you were before you went away? If anything, it makes Shawn right as well. Shawn saying that, Bret had become miserable and a bitter old man while he was away, and it's all happening on screen now, and it's becoming a character. But yeah, there's definitely echoes of what would come in real life as well. But that's what works so well about this 1997 period.
He's still trying to retain his integrity in spite of the whining, and he says, I'm not a man that makes idle threats, but it looks like I'm not going to get an opportunity for the World Wrestling Federation Championship belt, so I quit. And the fans are just in shock. Bret starts to walk out via the crowd. Vince tries to make him stay, but Bret's having absolutely none of it. The camera tracks him as he just walks through the arena. Just leaving. Bret the Hitman Hart in his street clothes is just leaving, and the camera cuts back to the ring, and what a powerful visual this was. Steve Austin is already in it. It is as if to say, don't let the door hit you on the way out. Like, you want to whine and complain? Well, I'm just here to work. Steve Austin speaking into a microphone, and the microphone's not working. So when he finally gets one that works, the first thing we hear him say is, are you going to give me a piece of equipment that works, son? Or am I going to have to whoop your ass? Whole crowd pops huge for that. Like, he shouts at Bret in the crowd. He says, I don't even know if you can hear me, but ever since you came back, you haven't done anything but cried. When the going gets tough, the hearts get going. Another huge pop for that. Austin shouts at the fans, knock it off. Brilliant. He shoots at Sid. He says, I was supposed to face Sid tonight. Apparently the 6'10", 300-pounder's got a concussion. But Gorilla Monsoon, listen, Gorilla, I'll get you a bunch of bananas. I'll stick them straight up your ass. Give me anybody. Oh my God, I'll fight your precious Undertaker. I don't care who I face. In the meantime, Vince McMahon storms backstage. Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler now have no idea what's going on because the Raw format's gone tits up. Vince McMahon's just left his sort of position. And then at this point, obviously, the show will cut to what happens next. The show tries to find its normality. but the dichotomy of Steve Austin and Bret Hart in this moment, it couldn't be clearer, could it? Couldn't be clearer what we're doing, and it's awesome. It's awesome.
It's right there. Gareth was right, Fodder, that it does all take place here, in the TVs and the build to it. And you're totally right. Like, it's Austin chewing scenery. It's great, it's great foreshadowing of, the type of storytelling that will become the norm in WWF, over time. It is, shock value. It is, hoping people it's 1997, so either jump on AOL instant message chat or ring the mates and go, did you hear Brett quit the WWF? Because in a way it's its own draw, isn't it? No, we can't possibly have. I'm going to have to put that on and see what happens next. And it's a literal, we'll get to the next segment, but it's a long, it's a show long story that they tell throughout with a cliffhanger and with an outcome and a bit of drama that isn't linked. It's linked to a match from the night before, but it's really just linked to, is Brett going to be in the WWF going forward? It's proper soap opera stuff, but this is the type of stuff that would become the norm through 1997. It's clear people like Vince Russo backstage are getting more influence, and Brett and Steve are obviously curating it to make it work for both their characters, but it's immediately a more adult story than anything we were really telling in the first half of 1996, at least.
Yeah, I remember, you might have something in the notes about this from the sheets at the time, but I remember sort of reading back my old Power Slams on this, and this is kind of a critically acclaimed Raw for the era, and I do wonder if some of those same critics would have been so full of praise if they saw how it would be bastardized and kind of turned into Crash TV, but I think it's just because they're blinded by how fresh it is. This is just a cold water in the face way to make television if you're the WWF. And to your point about the show long hook, and it's not like it's just a hook for hook's sake. They deliver an outcome, and halfway through the show, having had clips of Vince McMahon and Gorilla Monsoon and crisis talks and a split screen, we see the two of them walk to the ring together. And at this point, there's no real sense of which one's got more authority than the other. You fully accept that these are the two men in suits that run the show. It's what we've talked about. It's Jim Ross. It's Kevin Nash kicking the door down in 95. It's Jim Ross blowing it off the hinges in the summer of 1996. And now, yes, they will talk about President Gorilla, but equally, they are referring to Vince McMahon as the kind of boss. It's all vague, but the idea is this is Roy Evans and Gerard Houllier. They're both in charge. And what possibly goes wrong when you've got two managers that are working at the same time?
There's a bit of Wizard of Oz to it as well, in that Vince can, the kayfabe character Vince can still pretend, no, I'm just the announcer. I was just chatting to Gorilla backstage because I was just trying to get the scoop on what was going to happen with the news. And I'm out with him because, he needs someone to talk to. So, of course, I'm here. They're still at that point where they're covering both ends of it, aren't they? They're not. It's obvious, but it's not said outright, at least by Vince himself and by Gorilla. They're still trying to cover for it and pretend the kayfabe exists. So it's brilliant.
Monsoon, who I love, weirdly, even though he feels like a dinosaur in this time. His voice and his cadence and the way he speaks about these characters doesn't fit the way the world has so rapidly changed, but it's interesting to watch as a bit of a historical thing. He says he's extremely sad to hear what Brett said earlier on, and it's my personal opinion that the Royal Rumble was a travesty, but Vince McMahon, that I can't reverse referees' decisions, not here in the WWF. The result cannot change. Some heat, but then he says, but one can change is that number one contender spot. If Steve Austin thinks he's getting a shot at WrestleMania 13, win it like that, he's got another thing coming. What we're going to do is we're going to have a Final Four mini Royal Rumble. It's going to feature The Undertaker and Vader, who were thrown out by Stone Cold Steve Austin, Bret Hart, if he's willing to come back and accept this offer, and the man that's caused all these problems in the first place, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Gorilla then inadvertently ducks Vince McMahon's handshake, which is really funny. And then Vince tells him he needs to go to the other side of the ring because a lot more action is going to take place by the commentary table. Austin storms out, livid with the call, just completely gets in Gorilla's face, says, you call yourself the Gorilla, but you hee-haw like a jackass. He doesn't use the ropes as an invisible wall. He gets out the ring like he's about to batter Gorilla Monsoon, to the point where Vince has to get in the middle of the two of them because, as usual, Gorilla sells for nobody, does he? So Vince is stood in between the imposing presence of Gorilla Monsoon and the rage of Stone Cold Steve Austin. But then from out the crowd, it's Brett. He's back. He gets in the ring. He just goes, I accept. And then him and Austin just get right back to where they were at yesterday. An electric brawl on the aisle, needing to be pulled apart. Like wild horses can't keep these men from fighting at this point. And when we come back from the ad break, we're getting, and this is important, we're getting the advertised main event. This show has lost control, but as a wrestling show, it's still trying to deliver on what it promised. They're trying to keep the train on the tracks. They told you that you're going to get Austin versus Sid, and that couldn't happen. So they replaced it with Austin versus Undertaker, and that can happen. And here comes the Undertaker, and Undertaker and Austin are trying to have their match, and then Brett's back out again, all for brawl, because that brings Vader out, who wants a piece of the Undertaker from the Royal Rumble last night. You've got Brett and the Undertaker as the ostensible baby faces to Austin and Vader, hypothetically, but ultimately what they want here is the beauty shot of all four men in the ring. And what they're telling you is, look at this. Haven't you just had the best night of your life? Now imagine all four of them fighting as a pay-per-view main event. Isn't this fucking brilliant? See you in your house. It's good stuff, man.
It's just great. It's great TV. And like we said it before, almost as a slight, that, this is the type of stuff that will become what they do later, and it'd mean less. But it's also true. It means more because you haven't seen it a million times before. It means more because like this type of ripping up the book storytelling hasn't been done. And it's like, and it achieves all those aims. It gives you compelling TV across the entire show. And it also builds the pay-per-view, which is the old school wrestling element of it. It hasn't been lost here. We do maybe lose that thread a little bit later in the Attitude Era, but really, what should the selling point be? Well, it should be seeing, you want to see Austin and Brett tear each other apart, and you also want to see this Final Four match coming up as well. And I just want to say, to rewind a little bit, like on the Gorilla bit, like I love the Gorilla bit. Like it felt so, again, linked to our opening discussion here, it felt very 2025. It felt very David Moyes having a go at the Referees Association and Howard Webb and that. Like, because plausibly in football, it happens all the time, doesn't it? They come to a decision that makes sense to them, but of course the fans are going to be mad about it and go, how the fuck did they come to that decision? How the fuck did they come to that ruling? Oh, here we go. It's like all the teams in Europe, I think it is, all got like a bye to like the fourth round of the Carling Cup or whatever it was this year. And like every fan is going, that's clearly bullshit. What are they fucking doing? And you can apply that here. Like Austin won the Rumble. He should be in the WrestleMania main event, but plausibly Gorilla Monsoon, as the face of Vince McMahon, has made the decision that you did win. We're not striking that from the record. We're not annoying the Wikipedia folks in the future. There is a definitive winner of the 1997 Royal Rumble. However, my decision is that you're not getting the shot, and you have to go through this four-way. Like, and you can, again, for me, it's another notch for Steve Austin. It's another one where I reckon at home there are a lot of fans going, that's actually bullshit. So Austin's completely right about everything he's saying about Brett, and he's right about you people as well. Yous are out to get him. It is like the Referees Association out to get whatever my favorite club is. Like I think that's part of like the psychology of what they're doing here, and that works perfectly as well.
And now we're good to go, haven't we? We've got obviously the Final Four in your house. And before that, there is a situation where, because of the Westminster Dog Show, the WWF has to move Raw to a Thursday. So they call it Thursday Raw, Thursday Raw, Thursday. And on that show, to determine one last time who the winner of the Final Four match will compete against at WrestleMania, Shawn Michaels is going to give Psycho Sid his rematch from the Royal Rumble one last time between the two friends turned enemies. That winner will take on the winner of the Final Four. What can possibly go wrong for the second time in this podcast? Shawn Michaels' career has come to a crushing end, because Thursday Raw for Thursday at the Lowell is where Shawn Michaels loses his smile. We'll do a quick recap of this because I think everybody knows this one, but it's fun for us to relive as part of our timeline because it does feed in quite nicely. There he is in his tweed brown suit, coming out to the ring again to our new the Luke and Butch of the WWF administration team, Vince McMahon and Gorilla Monsoon, out there with sort of the very sort of official looking stances. And Shawn takes the mic again, not clean shaven, but again with a purpose, says to Vince, we've done this before. We fucking have, you cheeky little bastard. Shawn says that a doctor told him that he might never wrestle again. Shawn doesn't believe that. God, no, but he's got to deal with it. He gets a bit rattled here because there's some Let's Go Brett and some Sid chants in the Lowell. He's not necessarily the babyface to everybody in this building. He is the babyface to some. There are some tears in this crowd. Vince takes the interview back a little bit and he says, look, I want to put over the amazing year you've had, Shawn. I love you. And he doesn't say that, but he says, you've been fantastic as a champion. Carry on what you're saying. And Shawn says, look, I want everybody to have a good time. I like to provide it. But ultimately, my performance was the most important thing. Everything feels like a dig. If you saw my name on the card, you knew you were going to have a good time. Can't say that for everybody else. Everybody likes to talk about a lot of bad attitudes around this belt, and mine won't be one of them. I might be beyond reconstructive knee surgery at this point. His voice crackles. I assume, Benno, the only reason his voice is crackling and he's trembling and slurring is because he's just so emotional. That's all I can infer from this. Shawn says, I'm not complaining. I wanted the WWE Championship schedule. I wanted the 1996 I've had. Learjets, limousines. I wanted all of that. Toughness is a big thing here in the WWF at the moment, but I haven't got any toughness. All I've got is sorrow, tears, and emotion. So he hands the title over to Gorilla. He's like, here you go. Here's your belt. He says he goes home to see what's left, because one of the things I've lost over the last year is my smile. You may think that's cheesy and emotional, but I'm an emotional guy, and I need to go home and find my smile. I don't care if people make fun of me. There's even more fans crying at this point as a solitary tear runs down his face. I think he must have done the Joey Tribbiani, pinched the leg in his trouser pocket. Yeah, he says, I have you to thank. And he hugs Vince, he hugs Gorilla, and he says, I'm going to go home. And Jim Ross says, 25 years doing this, and I've never had the pain in my gut like I do right now. I think Jim Ross is shooting. I don't think he's necessarily feeling it in the same way that we're supposed to be feeling it, but I think he's definitely shooting. And the final four will now be for the World Heavyweight title, with Psycho Sid getting the winner on the following night's Monday Night Raw, as yet again, conveniently, they've put a hell of a hook on the Raw after the pay-per-view. It's all changed again, Benno, at the top, and it's all thanks to our main man himself, the boy toy.
So many thoughts. Like, it's so tough being a Shawn guy, and it's like these are the moments you can't defend. It's so mad as well. Like I said on the last review, like how close we are, like to his title run, and like we're already here with the losing a smile promo. It's just like the rails have come off so quickly. But like, I'll tell you what, kids, if you're growing up, get a better idol than Shawn Michaels, because like I could actually tell you a school story. I'll be very quick, but I do remember in like 1997 having read, read the sheets, read Power Slam, and kind of got the ins and outs of what had happened with Shawn, and the fact that he never really fancied losing a belt, as you've alluded to there, and always found a way out of it. I remember we had like a five-a-side tournament in school across all the different forms, and my form were doing really well, and we'd won, and we got into the final. And it got to the final day, and I just couldn't be bothered playing. I think some of my other mates were knocking around with some girls in like the school party. We used to do it at lunchtime, to clarify. And some of my mates were like going with some of the girls to like the park across the road from the school. And I kind of wanted to do it. And genuinely, part of my brain went, what would Shawn Michaels do in this situation? And rather than me having like an actual good hero like Brett or like Steve, my immediate thought was Shawn would just blow it off, wouldn't he? And have somebody else play, and he'd go off and mess around with the girls instead. And that's exactly what I did. And my five-a-side team lost the game, probably about 6-0 or something like that in the end. And I wasn't there to help them win it. But I felt justified, because what would Shawn do? Shawn would go with the girls, wouldn't he? He wouldn't play the game. Like he wouldn't be there. There was actually a point halfway through the game, actually, where one of the lads came running out going, the team are getting battered in there. Like, they need you to play. You're like, we're one player down. We've got no one else who can come on a sub. Can you come and play? And me being like, nah, that's fine. I'm doing this. This is more important. That's what Shawn did to me. And yeah, bad lesson, bad idol.
Benno, man, honestly, like, I'm so pleased that we were just ultimately inspired by the same old shit. There was a Raw magazine at the time. You might remember it. It said, is Planet WWF big enough for Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels? And there was a picture of the world, like just a stock image of a globe or the world or something, and Shawn and Bret were in front of it. And there was a line in the article, and I think the article was probably written by Vince Russo, and as we've talked about, he was writing half his own storylines in the magazine before he was allowed to get them on television, and it would kind of foreshadow the year that Bret and Shawn would have as constant sniping rivals at one another. And there's a line in it, and I think he attributes it to Shawn Michaels, and it's probably one of them situations where the magazine author is just writing the voice of the characters rather than anything the characters have actually said. And we had English at the time, and I remember we were doing poetry, and I was half decent at English. It was one of the class I knew I could do all right in, and we were given the task in this poetry thing, and it's like, you're all embarrassed about like getting crushes on people and all that kind of thing at that age. But there was like we were given the assignment of trying to write a love poem, and you can imagine, like, especially lads, I would say, like that being a bit more cringeworthy at that age. Yeah, not for me, because in the Raw magazine, I'd read the words from Shawn Michaels in this article because it was like all sentimental. I tried to say I love you, but the words got in the way, right? And that was like supposedly a line from Shawn to Bret that obviously Vince Russo had written. I called my poem that, and my English teacher was fucking beaming with it. She was like, oh my God, we have a laureate on our hands here. I tried to say I love you, but the words got in the way. And I was just like, yeah, no worries, miss, it's fine. I kind of wear my heart on my sleeve. It's just it happens to be a pink one with a heartbreak logo through it. I was just completely cribbing
nice
from
colour
Raw
scheme.
magazine to get an A in English. So yeah, I tried to say I love you, but the words got in the way. That'll be kicking around. That'll be in a Raw magazine somewhere. Somebody can fact check me on that. I stole that wholesale for a poem in English.
There you go. It's actually true. He's a great idol to have, actually, Shawn Michaels. Forget anything I said before. Just do as Shawn does, or say as Shawn says, and you'll do great. Oh, mate. We lived the same life. We really did. We say it all the time. Christ. But, yeah. Hard to justify, though, in reality, this whole situation. Like, when we did the Shawn tape on Grapple, like, we got to the end of it, and it really was just a damp ending to it all. It was like, oh, that's how pretty much the story of Shawn Michaels, WWF champion, ends, unless you're, count the DX stuff later. And it's all such bollocks as well. Like, I obviously followed, like, the Power Slam at the time, but going back and reading the Observers like around this time today, and it's like, yeah, no, Meltzer's just like saying it black and white. Yeah, nobody believed this was really a knee injury thing, but they all kind of like got together and were like, yeah, but it's probably the best in it. We don't really want to pry on what's going on with Shawn, but very clearly, as you've alluded to, he's turning up, not particularly in a condition to perform, and it might be the stress of the road, it might be the shoot of the stress of being world champion. Maybe we should just go with it, and yeah, Shawn, of course, your whole career is going to end over in a knee injury, even though Dr. James Andrews says there's no chance of that. We'll just go along with it, Shawn. It's better than the alternative, when the actual alternative is the other note that was in the Observer this week was that Shawn had been sending feelers to WCW and asking Scott Hall if you could get him in, because that's just our Shawn, in it. Like, despite the fact contractually he never could have, of course he's going to try. He's going to find out if he can get away. Good job, like 1997, Benno didn't hear of that, because I would have been transferred into like the other school down the road or something like that, just because Shawn did it.
I guess what was I going to say there? I suppose, like, at least in this case, we can say hashtag thank you, Shawn, because by leaving, he did save us from Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Davey Boy fucking Smith at WrestleMania 13. So there are certain times where it's a bit like Triple H getting punished for the curtain call that took him out the King of the Ring, and this took Shawn away to force them to reshuffle the pieces a little bit. So that's something. And just before we move on, because I've got a segue into the next and last thing we're going to talk about here, but like, is it reasonable to say that like this is a different and quite interesting conversation now as to what it was then? Because yes, this is a man with significant addiction problems. We're witnessing him on camera. This is a man prepared to lie and cheat and politic his way through the shitty end of the wrestling stick. But it's also a man with what we would consider today pretty massive mental health problems, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that never gets looked at. Like, retrospectively, we're kind of all just told to have a bit of a laugh at Shawn's expense here. But if this is a 2025 promo, it's a wrestling company showing duty of care to a person who needs to go away.
Massively so, and like again, like, it's how much of that is true, coming from Shawn's
of course,
end.
Yeah.
Enough of it is true that, like, within this position, it's not the issues he's telling you about, but clearly there's issues somewhere beneath it, and yeah, that's different. Like, right down to, like, Austin making fun of Sid's concussion on Raw, like it's just a different world, isn't it? You're not a man's man if you don't turn up to work battered, and as we see, Brett has a field day with this material, both from just being angry at Shawn that he's not gonna. Clearly, a big part of this is he doesn't want to lose to him at WrestleMania 13. I mean, that's really what's going on behind it all. But, like, Brett kind of revels in that and gets to enjoy having a go with Shawn for that, but also gets to enjoy, despite the fact that he just, as Shawn kept saying, took fucking 6 mons off, he gets to be mad at Shawn for not turning up for work and, being everything he thought he was going in as well. And, like, yeah, that's not really the attitude I think people would have now. If anything, people would take one look at Shawn turning up to work at, like, that last day in your house and going, yeah, mate, go home, mate. We can't have you around. You need to send you home for 6 months. You need to sort yourself out, whether it's a work or a shoot.
Well, speaking of Shawn Michaels going home and saying he was going home at the end of this promo, I have my suspicions, Benno, that he wasn't going home. He was probably going to a club in Lower Massachusetts. And to be absolutely fair to him, the entire company was, because we can't leave this period of time behind without just sharing any thoughts, memories, and reflections we have on WWF hitting the town in January 1997. The famous / infamous, I don't know, original run of one Shotgun Saturday Night launched in January in New York City at the Mirage nightclub. It then went on to bounce around various clubs in the Northeast. Penn Station was one of the famous episodes where Undertaker tombstones Triple H down the escalator. There's like a sports bar in... Yeah, like a sports bar in Texas over Royal Rumble weekend where Steve Austin and Terry Funk have a kind of a famous brawl where Funk is just like effing and jeffing and like really getting into the cowboy nature of the town they're in and whatnot. It doesn't last a long time. It's a good time rather than a long time. It's only around, like most WWF big ideas, it's kind of in like a lion, out like a lamb. They realize that it's more hassle than it's worth, and Shotgun becomes the name of the weekly syndicated TV show within about 2.5, 3 months. But I don't know if your memories are the same as mine. Like, obviously, zero TV coverage, other than the odd clips. You were talking still images in the Raw magazines. But, I mean, from Marlena exposing herself to the headbangers in nun outfits and, oh my God, the yellow ropes. This was absolutely gripping to me as the most outside I could possibly be. An underage kid in the wrong country with zero television access to this. Shotgun Saturday Night, mate, was going to put ECW out of business.
That's the thing about it, isn't it? It's like, I think the thing with Shotgun, it's the idea rather than reality, isn't it? It's seeing grown up same as you, seeing the pictures in the magazines and hearing the stories afterwards. And if anything, like we talked about it we were planning on doing it as a grapple show. You know, we do month one, we do a month one of a given show, and we really planned on doing it. It was like, no, you literally can't get it anymore. There's no way we could get the footage to do it. That added to the mythology. I know now our good friends over at WWF, I think they put the first episode up, haven't they? I'm not sure if they've put more up there or not. But I think it's all the mythology around it. It's like, it was the idea of it. It's WWF in a nightclub, and it's a little bit more adult, and it's a little bit more risque. And you hear little in Power Slam or in the little versions of message boards I was reading at the time, different stories about why it stopped being a thing and not fully understanding it. Like, it's all that. It's the mythology. The reality, I've never actually sat down and watched because, again, the footage is so scarce. I've seen little highlights in it and getting prepped for this, but at some point I really do want to sit down and watch like the full run of it because I want to know, like, for certain, is it just all mouth and no trousers? But like, I'd love to see it, and there were people with no trousers on the show as well that I'm sure I would have liked to have seen in 1987 too. So there's that to it as well.
I had, and I might one day be able to make your dreams come true, but I might also have just thrown them away. I had the entire run on physical. I bought them off somebody on the UKFF in like a sleeve of discs. I think it was like all of Shotgun 97, so it's when it morphs into the highlight show. But I was kind of, it being me, I guess, and such a completist, I was just fascinated about like the 97 like Raw is War extras. So you had the likes of Brian Pillman doing commentary, and Sunny would do like a segment where she was like interviewing people, but on a bed at the top of the ramp, and just things that like made it Shotgun by definition, even though now it was taking place as a Raw B show kind of thing. And I've got that 1997 run, so it's every episode in a club. So you've got like, there's a few little curios. There's like Mark Mero teasing his heel turn. There's like fake Razor and Diesel just won't fuck off, so they're kicking around a bit in these club shows. Bret Hart and Mankind have what I'm pretty sure is their only televised match in a club. There's a bit where like they've got like dancers in the club in like a bit like the early TNAs, like in the cages, and like Mankind is like in all his terrifying glories, like creeping towards one of the dancers, and the dancer's like, oh God. And then Brett like just attacks him and the match carries on. Here's a one for you. You know the DX video, and they've got like the B-roll of like women in clubs and people dancing. That's taken from just interstitial shots from the clubs at Shotgun Saturday Night.
No,
they haven't sent people to, they haven't sent people to a club. That's just like, right, we're back here on Shotgun, and you'll have like an establishing shot of like the club or the dancers or the women or whatever. They're all from Shotgun. If you ever watch those individual episodes, you'll see why have I seen those? And it's people from the DX video package.
I'll file that next to my trivia note about Mike Tyson's music being repurposed to X-Pac, and the fact that it says make some noise at the start of that music and not X-Pac. That might have blown someone's mind to mention that again, but I like to shoehorn it in anywhere I can. Genuinely didn't know that, and I love that DX video like at the time as well. Never put that together.
It's that plus Raw on the Roof, Like all the fans running towards the cage was Raw on the
that
roof.
You recognise,
then,
yeah. They reused that a lot, didn't they? They used that for like different video packages and such. But that's the thing, isn't it? Like it all, because I've only, I've never seen the full episodes, and like you say, they are quite scarce. Maybe they're out there now. Maybe if I dug a little bit more, they'd be there. But it is the fact that it's mythologized, isn't it? The fact that it is scarce, the fact that you do see these little glimpses of it. It looks, I'd file it under Livewire. It's like one of those, like, we're just going to push the envelope and experiment. Basically, we're doing an indie in New York on Saturday night. What could possibly go wrong? And what could possibly go wrong is the roster couldn't be asked going to New York for like £300 or whatever the payday was for the 10 people that were in the crowd, and then having to the days of having to book your own accommodation and stuff like that, try and find a hotel in New York on a Saturday night. I think it was in Foley's book or it was in someone's book talking about it, going like that was half the reason we didn't want to go, because it was like, yeah, it was great stuff doing a show in Penn Station or whatever we do, and then after the show we'd have to book a hotel that was 3 times as expensive as it normally was, and never mind our road expenses just being in New York. Or because Vince maybe went to a club one night in his life in New York and thought, that's what ECW is, we'll do that. But it's one of those wacky throwing things at the wall ideas, isn't it? Like a Livewire, where they're not quite sure how to piece it together and make it be, what the Fed would become only a year later. But they're clearly, you've got to throw 10 things at the wall for, 5 of them to stick.
Yeah, it's I love any kind of experimental stuff from this era, and it's almost defined again. Same with Livewire becomes a clip show. They're almost defined by how short they are, aren't they? Because for the various, whether it's administrative reasons or just creative reasons, they all become untenable. But
because Raw's about to add another hour as well, isn't it? That's the other thing.
Yeah, getting to watch them learn that as they go, rather than simply what would happen in the years. Once you've got the monopoly, they would simply just not do the thing. And that's much worse. You'd much rather see them try the thing and fail at doing the thing than not do the thing at all. And there was tons of that in this era. And I really love that about this.
Massively so.
We're going to move on to the 5-star match review. We didn't do this in the last Housekeeping. For those that aren't aware, the 5-star match review is a bit of a call out and a gimmicking of the charts for the podcast downloads and the like and subscribers that me and Benno do in order to basically encourage people to leave us a 5-star review. And in return, in that review, in the comments section, if you leave us a match request, I mean, you can call us worse than shit if you want as well. You can say that you were another kid in an English class that got a weaker mark because you didn't steal from Raw magazine, or you can say that you were another 5-a-side team that were hijacked by Benno and his lot just deciding to go at the park and see them lasses instead. But you can put all that. As long as you give us a 5-star review, we honestly don't mind. And in return, we will review a match of your choosing. It could be from the new generation. It could be one of our favorite Shawns and Bretts and the like that isn't in the In Your House canon, or it could be something completely different. This week's is a bit of both. Benno, I'm going to ask you a favor here because I haven't copied over the actual review. I've got the match, but I haven't got the review. Have you got that to hand by any chance? Or have you got enough time to find it while we go through this one?
What do you mean?
The actual 5-star review requesting this match.
Oh, sorry.
I haven't got it on my screen at the moment.
Yeah, let me ring
because
it up,
why we like this one, we've always sort of tried to find a bit of synergy between what we're covering and what's been requested. And this was an absolute belter. It's from February the 8th, 1992, and it's Saturday night main event, the last big show before WrestleMania 8. It's Hulk Hogan and not quite Psycho Sid Justice taking on The Undertaker and Ric Flair. Look, as we kind of get one last glimpse of Psycho Sid as the WWF champion, we might as well see him, well, frankly, just about before he's about to piss off from the Fed the last time as well, in his first run as Sid Justice in 1992. And this was requested, hopefully, by
Domino JC88 it was on Apple Podcasts. The title of his review is "I Need This." He says, "Loving this podcast with the Dream Combo hosts. Thank you very much. It's become a staple to put on. Great insight. So fun. Is this the right podcast? So fun to go back and revisit the good, the bad, or it is us, and old times, and see it through today's eyes with the expert analysis. Thank you very much, Dom, for that." He does say there he'd love to hear us gents talk anything Sid Justice related from his first Fed run in 91, 92. And yeah, we were just thinking about it, Michael. I mean, who can imagine a world where there's like a disputed Royal Rumble with, 4 main parties involved, and, one of those parties might be a bloke called Sid. Oh, wait, same bloke called Sid. And there could be a bloke, called Mark, who's the Undertaker, also knocking around. Oh, right. And there also could be, on the other channel, Hogan and another old man. Yeah, that all kind of ticks boxes. And we kind of looked at it and was like, you know what? Sid's run from 91, 92 Fed isn't the most detailed, is it? There's a few good squashes in there, but outside of that, there's the WrestleMania 8 match, which is obviously what is built up that we're about to talk about today. But there was only one pick for us, wasn't there, that lined up perfectly with pretty much everything we're talking about in January of 1997, only 5 years later.
It's magic, man. It might not be in a nightclub, but this is certainly a Shotgun Saturday Night's Main Event angle, because the whole thing starts with a piss funny promo with the quote unquote baby faces, Sid and Hulk Hogan, speaking to Sean Mooney. I'm assuming you got this on your WWE Vault version as well. They're backstage. Sean Mooney notes that, for those that don't recall, as Benno says, Ric Flair won the Royal Rumble, became the WWF champion. Before that, Sid completely legally eliminated Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan threw a fit and cheated to eliminate Sid. And then at the WrestleMania press conference, Ric Flair was obviously the world champion, and Jack Tunney announced that from the final competitors in the Royal Rumble, the world title shot was going to Hulk Hogan. Sid Justice, rightfully so, by the way, as the runner-up in the Royal Rumble, called that decision bogus, said that Jack Tunney was corrupt, and appeared to snap there and then. But he's here, all smiles. Sean Mooney says, Sid, you've apologized for losing your patience at the press conference. You've apologized for the way you behaved with Hulk Hogan. And through this gritted teeth smile, Sean Mooney says, and Sid, you've proven you can be a true friend. And he kind of holds the microphone to Sid. So Sid goes to speak, and then Sean Mooney says, so anyway, Hulk, are you excited about this match tonight on Saturday Night's Main Event? And Sid just looks fucking livid. He just storms off out the shot. That gives Hogan time to do his usual rah-rah promo. Yep, like, me and Sid are mates. Everything's absolutely fine. Everything's great again. We're going to win tonight. I'm going to win the belt from Flair at WrestleMania. Hogan's got a special yellow Saturday Night's Main Event shirt on. Did you see that? He's got specially made for the night. And why? Because he's got a quote, a special little surprise that he's going to bring with him to the ring. And I was like, oh, what could this be? And out comes Sid first in his red. The heels are already in the ring. Sid's looking incredible. Vince does note there's a bit of a mixed reaction for Sid after what happened at the Royal Rumble. But look who's out with Hulk Hogan. It's his friend to the end. You mentioned about how Hogan was in WCW. Well, he's brought the disciple of the Booty Man with him to Saturday Night's Main Event, because Brutus Beefcake, fresh off his barbershop getting destroyed by Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, and fresh off his face getting destroyed by somebody's knees in a parasailing accident, Brutus Beefcake is back on television. It's El Tel, an older Brother Boulder himself. But they're very keen to make it clear nobody touches him. The man is like made of porcelain. He's fine china out there tonight. Don't go near Beefcake, otherwise he's dead, basically. But Hulk Hogan's bringing him out anyway like a charity case that he is.
Incredible stuff. The tie-ins are endless here, because the other tie-in here is if Shawn Michaels was my hero in early 1997, Brutus Beefcake was actually my hero in like 1991, 1992. I haven't got very good heroes. He was Hulk Hogan's mate. That was enough for me. I didn't want to be Hulk Hogan. I wanted to be the mate. You know, like New Jack. I didn't want to be Denzel. I wanted to be Denzel's mate. That's how I saw my role in life. I even asked my mum one Christmas to get me some gloves with the fingers cut off like Brutus Beefcake, and she told me to fuck off. At least I didn't ask for some assless chaps or something like that. That's
perfect.
Or Sean later,
because I wanted to be Sean Mooney with the WWF Blazer, so this is perfect. We've all gotten we've all sort of gotten our own sort of idols here. It's fine.
That'd be incredible. Could have worn that for many of my work from home interviews over time. If I bought one of those as well, couldn't have worn the assless chaps. But I think for me the other tie-ins here as well, like say the fact that obviously Undertaker's in the match and was part of the Final Four, and obviously Sid as well, being around, like the fact that that's it's the Mania 13 main event we're about to talk about on our shows, like, and here they are, very different versions of the people, but also with all these echoes of what could come in the future, even down to like the best friends dynamic with Sid and Hogan. That's very Sid and Shawn in the tail end of '96. I just, like you alluded to there, like with Hogan, I just don't think the controversy here is quite as big as built up. Like even when Terry's cutting the promo about it, going, "Oh, we put it behind us, brother." It's like, no, you're the content, you're the problem. Like Sid's done nothing wrong. You're the actual issue here. Like that, actually, very Shawn and Brett, but without the nuance that would have the crowd going, or Brett and Steve that would have the crowd going in the right direction. Terry still thinks he's the baby face here as well, but I always love the setup for this because it's more angle than match, isn't it? That we're going to get into, but like all of the setup of it, the promo side of it, the sleight of hand of bringing Brutus out because they want to get him involved too. It's the good early Fed stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and you mentioned the nuance between Brett and Shawn. There's absolutely none here. Like, we've already seen Sid kind of storm off the set. He's doing the big smile out there. He's doing the high fives with Brutus Lothario, but you can tell that like something's not quite right between them anymore. But nonetheless, he's trying to like put on a good face. The match plays out. You say it's more angle and match. It just plays out in sequence over and over again until we get to the twist. So Sid says, "No, I got this. I'll start." And ultimately, everything's going fine. He tags in Hulk. Hulk batters Ric Flair for a bit. The Undertaker gets hip tossed. There's a big pop for that. Hogan whips him into the corner. Sid puts the knee up. He tags back in. He gets a bit of the Undertaker. He slams the Undertaker. So he's like showing himself to be equal to Hulk Hogan. Like, Hogan offers the knee for Sid, just like Sid offered it for Hogan. So Sid's like, all right, yeah, fair enough. And he whips back into the corner the baby faces. It's all quick tags. They're purposely doing the same spots with the idea of illustrating that they might actually be equals, these two, and it's just letting you know that everything Hulk can do, Sid can do better, or vice versa, depends on which way you want to look at this. Hogan, all right, mate, you're still in the spotlight a bit now. Tags himself back in. He slams both men. He clothesline both men. The crowd are popping. The heels powder. Hogan's like doing a lot of posing, and Sid's like, all right, mate, chill the fuck out. But like, nonetheless, we cut to the commercial break, and everything seems fine. Sid and Hulk are the well-oiled machine, but Undertaker and Flair cheat to take advantage. They get to work on Sid a little bit, and he is in a bit of trouble. He manages to recover. The heels do a double team, but Hogan comes in to help Sid, this time without a tag. And again, the poses rattle Sid a little bit, but never mind. They take over on Sid again. They cut the ring off from Hulk Hogan, but Sid Justice is just refusing to stay down, refusing to die, refusing to sell, quite honestly. It's pretty terrible. Heenan's trying to stir it up on commentary. He's trying to sort of say that, like, I think Sid might be better than Hulk, Vince. And Vince's like, I don't know about that, Bobby. Hogan's the best of all time. But Justice makes his own comeback. He tags Hulk Hogan. Hogan takes out everybody, including Paul Bearer. He swings for Mr. Perfect, but that's his undoing. That gives the heels the advantage on Hulk Hogan, and now they have the distraction, and they work the Hulkster's leg. This is all in service of getting him ready for the figure four leg lock. Flair locks it in, and Hogan's quite a long way from the corner, but he's like reaching out for the tag while in the figure four leg lock, and Sid just like, he has a problem with his boot or something. He's having to turn around and fix that. So Hogan has to make his own counter. He reverses the figure four to reverse the pressure on Flair. Flair has no choice but to break, and Hogan starts crawling over. But Sid just seems to leave his hands on the top rope. He doesn't seem to be extending the arm the way that you'd like. So again, the heels are able to take advantage. At this point, the camera looks at Sid, and he shoots one of them snot rockets at Brutus Beefcake, and you realize what is going on here. He starts telling the crowd to shut up. He's calling people losers. The commentators they're so close, Benno, to picking up what's going on here, but what's happening with Sid? We've all been on a story about 15 minutes at this point, but nonetheless, the commentators still seem completely shocked as Hogan makes one last desperate crawl, and this is just one of my favorite spots whenever it happens in wrestling. Hogan reaches for the tag, and what does Sid do? Drops down to the floor. It's cruel. It's brilliant. It's piss funny. Hogan's like, no, Sid, how could you? Only now have the commentators finally picked up the million red flags that maybe Sid's not quite on the up and up. Sid looks like he's going to threaten Beefcake by punching him in the face, which makes it sounds like call the police. Like, if anybody punches Beefcake in the face, he's dead. Heenan gets in a couple of great lines about the state of Beefcake's face, and he walks out like screaming at Beefcake that Hulk Hogan can help himself. Apparently he doesn't need Sid around, so he can do this by himself. And then the problem is Hogan does do it by himself. Flair and The Undertaker just lay a beat down on the Hulkster. Flair gets a bit too excited with the 2-on-1, and he throws the referee down. So Hulk gets the win by disqualification. Beefcake can't do anything because he's this delicate porcelain little flower, but he does get in the ring long enough to distract the baddies, at which point Hulk makes the recovery. He saves his special little surprise, the Disciple, from any further damage. He chases off the baddies. They get another day, and then they don't do anything to Beefcake. Hogan gets to win, gets to celebrate. Hogan at this point, just in case it wasn't clear in 100 fucking foot high tall letters, goes, what? Did Sid do this to me, Beefcake? And Beefcake's like, yeah, Hulk, it was Sid. It was Sid. And Hogan's like, no, how can it be? We got to an interview with Sid. Are you clear, Benno, that this is Sid that's the bastard here? Because Sean Mooney's already caught up with Sid, and he's like, how could you do that to your friend? And Sid's like, shut up, you puke. Hogan was never my friend.
It's like Brett and Shawn. No, Sean Mooney is the music man in the Brett and Shawn scenario.
Yes.
Like he's the one who pulled the mic away from Sid in like the promo before the match. He's the one. That's the insane business. That's what sets it up. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, he's not my friend. Hulk Hogan, good line this. You can't beat Ric Flair on his best day, and you can't beat me on my worst. And we cut back to the ring, and Saturday Night's Main Event goes off the air with Hulk Hogan trying to piece together the great fix that is in here. The commentary says, well, I'm sure at WrestleMania, Hogan will definitely win that belt and everything's fine. But on one of these days, he's going to have to get his hands on Sid. And as you pointed out, just like 1997, it looks as if the pieces of the board are back about to be thrown up in the air.
I love it. Like, I honestly think this was like one of... Again, it's never going to be the in-ring with Sid, is it? Outside of him battering some jobbers. Like, I think this is one of the best character turns of his career because, totally agree. Like, it's 100% where it's lampooned and it's very 90s, isn't it? Even down to, like, obviously, I love that Rumble. Absolutely love it. You know, the fact that they sweeten up the crowds, you know, on the replays of it and all that stuff. It's a different time, isn't it? Like, they wouldn't even be doing that in 1996 and 1980. It's like doing that with Shawn and Sid, isn't it? Like changing the crowd so that the booing when Jose Lothario gets taken out rather than cheering. They weren't doing that later, so it's very much a sign of a different time. As is how obvious it all is, but I think I prefer it because I think if they did this now. If this was one of the Usos turning on Roman Reigns, cover your ears, Matthew Edwards. Like, it would or anything else in wrestling. Like, the match would be worked normally all the way up to the finish, and then the person would hit a super kick and turn and, like, pull an evil face to the camera, and then we'd focus on that for 10 minutes, and then that would be the story. Like, and the previous 15 minutes of the match would make no sense anymore. At least here, it's consistent with Sid. Like, Sid's getting more annoyed as the match goes on. He's literally standing there in disbelief as Terry's hogging all the spotlight for himself and doing all the things that like Sid's mad at him for, and like you can see it. It's really broadly acted because it's Sid and it's written all over his face what he's planning on doing. But I kind of like that better. It's more logical to me. And then even if you know it's coming, like a great film or like any great story, sometimes predictable isn't bad. You sat at home going, Sid's going to walk out here. Sid's going to walk out here. But it's still impactful when he doesn't take the tag and he does walk out. It's brilliant. And obviously you get Terry undercutting it by battering all the heels on his own with half a hand of help from Brutus Beefcake. But the Sid part of it is just really, really well done. And like it slots him perfectly into the role Sid should have always been. I never understood that. I never understood like the rumors that like, Vince sees Sid as the next Hulk Hogan. He's going to take over. Like, I mean, he looks great. He's got a great body, but like, I mean, look at his haircut and listen to him talk. He's never going to be a top babyface. Like, he's always going to be just that little bit goofy. He loves softball that little bit too much, and he's a bit fucking mad. But as a top heel, as a guy you can put against the Hogan or a babyface that's maybe more suited to the time here, again, echoes of Shawn at the tail end of 96. Sid is perfect. And that's why it's like, I think it's the first thing that came, I think, to your mind when we talked about doing this. But when you mentioned, like, this would be the Sid match we could do in 1992, I was like, it all fits together. It makes so much sense. And it's a real fond memory for me as far as Sid canon goes, too.
It's the last act for the Undertaker as a heel as well, because it's this Saturday night's main event, you may remember, where Randy Savage finally gets his vindication against Jake Roberts and sends him off to the back when he beats him. And then Jake Roberts is backstage with the chair and the camera's got him and he says, I don't care who I hit, whoever comes through the corner first. It could be Randy Savage, it could be Elizabeth. Whichever one comes to the curtain, I'm going to smash their head off. And they do that brilliant thing where they cut to the aisle and it keeps switching who's going to go through the curtain. Like the commentators are like, oh God, it's Randy. Oh no, it's Liz. Oh God. Like, and you with the fans are like, one of them's going to walk through the curtain and get their head blown off by Jake Roberts with the chair. And it's Liz that walks through the curtain. He swings back. And who pulls the chair back? It's the Undertaker, right in the wrong of the last attack. And Jake's like, we're not on the same side anymore. What? And that's obviously what teases up their match at WrestleMania as well. And I mentioned that because you mentioned that obviously Sid and the Undertaker would be the WrestleMania 13 main event. They would also be on the card at the Sheffield Arena in 1992 against one another just before Sid left, which was my first live WWF show. Yeah, the UK Rampage. So I got the WrestleMania main event on my first. I got that, and I got Shawn versus Randy Savage for the WWF title in a rare match between those two as well in Sheffield in '92. So yeah, Sid and the Dead Man 5 years before they headlined WrestleMania, and about a week before Sid thought, "You're testing for what now?" I'll see you later. Yeah,
was it any better? I'm guessing it wasn't.
Oh, no. I was going to say it stunk just as much, but then based on what we know about the rumours of Sid in that WrestleMania 13 match, I don't imagine anything stunk as bad as that tombstone that The Undertaker had to hit.
Oh,
so we'll get to that, though.
That's
so, yes, thank you so much for that 5-star match review. More of the same. Thank you, Dom. Let us know. Give us a 5-star review on any of the platforms. Spotify appreciate it, especially after they blitzed us a few months ago. But really, any of the platforms, it all gets us up the charts. It gets us discovered by more people. If you've got a favorite, if you've got anything, give me from any era. Myself and Benno would love to read your review and then review a classic match on the next edition of Housekeeping. And with that, I suppose there's just a bit of time to preview Final Four, isn't there? 1997 continues to ebb and flow and change. And I'm going to illustrate that, Benno, by just quickly running down the card we've got here. Because while the opener is an It's Time loser off between Leif Cassidy and Mark Mero to determine who's the better of the two weaker technical wrestlers from December, the ranks of the Nation of Domination have expanded in our absence from television because Farouk Crush and our old In Your House favorite, Savio Vega, now on the heel side of the fence, will team up for the first time on pay-per-view.
That's a shotgun angle, isn't it? That ties in. Yeah.
I think it's at Madison Square Garden, you know. I think they do it and but they show you, the camera's all gritty and they show you. In fact, do you know what? I think it's Savio Vega doing the Sid and like Ahmed's in the ring and he's tagging against Crush and Farouk and he goes to reach the tag and Savio's like, nah, and turns on him. So I'm pretty sure we get another Sid Hogan template. So yeah, the new and improved, stronger than ever Nation of Domination. I mean, I don't know how they're going to stop this babyface super team of Goldust, Flash Funk, and Bart Gunn. So who could possibly win that one? We have complained for months that Owen Hart and the British Bulldog have needed some baby faces to fight some really fiery, charismatic good guys. So they've got Furnace and LaFon. Elsewhere on the show.
He will never be Crawford to me either, Michael. Never.
The Intercontinental title is on the line, Benno, but it might not be around the waist of who you think, because also at Thursday Raw Thursday, as if it wasn't a difficult night enough with no one's bags to carry, seeing as Shawn Michaels was going away, Triple H didn't even leave with his own belt. They did a hot shot title change. Rocky Maivia, the blue chipper in the Lowell, became the Intercontinental champion. So they're doing a rematch at the Final Four pay-per-view days later to give Triple H a chance to get his belt back. We will see how that one turns out. And now,
you know what that turned out? There was a power struggle in 202025 over the future of the Fed. That's how that one turned out. Just that job, that one job, like that was it.
We're still suffering the consequences of that all these years later. My fucking WrestleMania in Las Vegas got ruined because them two dipshits just play chess with each other. Like,
and to this day, Shawn and Dwayne can't be in the same room. All the origins are from them.
And Shawn's got to book his daughter as an authority figure to this day.
I would smile at his face. Amazing.
And in the main event now for the vacant WWF Championship, hashtag thank you, Shawn. Stone Cold Steve Austin, the rightful winner of the Royal Rumble, will defend that very crown against Vader, Bret Hart, and The Undertaker. It is a 4 corners, pinfall, or over-the-top rope elimination match where the winner instantly becomes WWF champion and will defend it against Psycho Sid on Raw the very next night. The stakes just keep getting higher and higher on the road to WrestleMania, Benno. I cannot wait.
I was going to say, yeah, surely it guarantees us who's in the main event of WrestleMania, but nope. We're into that period of Raw. We're starting to get to the point where young Benno, I'm guessing young Hamflett, start to lose track of who the world champions are when you go back through history. There's a year, isn't there, you can get to where it starts getting a bit muddled, and we're getting closer and closer to that year, and it's booking like this there that gets us there. But yeah, now that I think about it, I think I've seen the finish. Again, it's another one of those shows where I distinctly remember reading the WWF magazine 3 months later when it finally got released with the photos of the match. But have I seen the match itself? I'm not 100%. So yeah, we do the homework. I'm looking forward to finding out. And
I think we can reveal that it won't just be us two unpicking this one. Am I right in saying that? Or are we leaving that as a surprise? What are we saying?
No, we should say it's
I think the man's a draw.
Yeah,
I was going to say the man's a draw. We want to get the message out there. If you are a fan of the brilliant Nothing Like It podcast,
Sorry.
the Nothing Like It podcast, graphs and claps, or really any review of any British wrestling show over about the past 10 years or so, you will know the phenomenal work of one Andy Ogden, and he will be joining us on the next show to talk about, well, a Final Four and In Your House that meant a lot to him, and it gives us a third person in there while we try and break down the four all fighting at the same time. I cannot wait to get Andy on for this one.
The king of Brit Res. He carried me through many, those British wrestling podcasts back in the day, especially the dying days of BWE. He was the one keeping us afloat. And obviously, you've done stuff over on Graps and Claps for shite with Andy. And this is, I don't think, going to be shite. I think it's going to be better than the last In Your House. But,
I think some of it might be.
I had him on a Grapple Live a little while ago, and we were talking about having one of these. And this is the one he chose. This is the one he said he had the most fond memories of as well. So, hopefully it'll be the opposite of shite for Andy. And, can't wait to have him on. If you're not familiar with his work, you should check him out. The Oracle of British wrestling. Search Graps and Claps wherever it's sold. Look for Oggy Part 3, I think he is on Twitter. I think
that's on X.
Jeff's the first, and there's another one as well. But yes, find him there as well. And can't wait to have him on. Always a great time to chat with Andy.
All right, it's going to be great. And I guess in the meantime, Benno, before then, where can they find you and what's going on currently over at Grapple Towers?
Yeah, obviously, the time you find us in, we're in the midst of yet another WWE and AEW pay-per-view cycle. Obviously with Crown Jewel in the rear view. Obviously, you can check our review of that, and of course, Wrestle Dreamer this weekend as well, and we'll have a review of that up as well. So check that out. As I said on the last review as well, we are still trying to get the old YouTube videos going, so we'll have full quick responses and quick reaction videos from me on the AW pay-per-views, and you'll get Matty's on the WWEs as well. So check that out, and everything else we've got going over at Grapple. And speaking of which, we obviously have yourself on the Patreon this month, as I'm about to head off to Tokyo for a couple of weeks or so, and I'll be out of commission. And Matty has brought you over to the Grapple Dark Side, mate. And the big Patreon show this month has got yourself featured.
Matty has kindly let me through the cap flap, and typical.
I'm trusting you with the keys.
Yeah, typical of the two of us. We have managed to land on a show that on a network called Grapple might not even feature a wrestling hold. I can't quite remember from the list we put together. It's a big one, but it's an awesome one. In the spirit both of the stuff we love and it being spooky season for those of you that like Halloween. I don't. I can't be arsed with it, but I know that a lot of people do, and a lot of people like celebrating. We are going back and we are revisiting when the Fed was the scariest place on earth. 1990 to 1993 Scary Fed, in a show that I believe will just be simply called Angles. And it's going to be all of the biggest ones that scared if you're the same age as us or similar, and let's be honest, most of us across these overlapping audiences are, those moments that scared the absolute living shit out of you from a time when, quite honestly, things just got pretty dark. The more we sort of talked about it, the more we realized that there was just monsters around every corner in the WWF. So we're looking back at all of those times when our heroes were left seemingly for dead in those big, I was going to say money drawing, but they didn't draw a dime, in those big terrifying moments, if you were the right age to be terrified them, including what I still maintain, to call back a little bit to Randy Savage and Jake the Snake Roberts. Let's be honest, maybe the best heat angle in wrestling history, possibly. Looking forward to diving deep on a bunch of those, chronologically going through some of those years. It's basically, I realize what I'm doing is I'm just working my way through, like, that pretty much takes us to the start of the new generation, which is where our podcast begins. So I've only got, what have I saved in reserve, Benno? 1994. Imagine a rainy day where somebody might need walking through that year. I wonder if I think of somebody perfect for that spot.
Could be a great,
could be.
Review. So, I'm just thinking I've been missold here. You two told me you were doing a podcast on like the scariest year and the scariest stuff from the Fed, and I just assumed you were doing 2024 WWE. I guess you're doing historical scary angles. News to me too, folks. So yeah, I'll check that out. I look forward to it. I'm not a Halloween guy, so it's perfect for Halloween week with you two at the helm. We'll be dropping that a little bit before Halloween. The 28th, I believe, is the day we'll be dropping that over on the Patreon as well. But I'll be listening like everybody else. I can't wait to you two get at it, and I'm expecting the first Grapple 7-hour podcast based on the source material you've got there as well, and probably 3 hours on why I'm wrong about Jay, so I know that's gonna sneak in as well, so absolutely can't wait.
It's the first ever all sickos playlist where nothing on the playlist is actually for sickos. Like we're making history with this one.
Brilliant stuff. Well,
Cannot
that's
wait
going
for
over
that.
the grapple. What have you guys got going on?
It's more of the same. We'll be doing all the coverage of the Wrestle Dream and Crown Jewel run-ins and follow-ons and all that sort of good stuff, all the fallouts. Then the usual weekly coverage of Raw, SmackDown, AEW, and NXT as we head into, well, I guess it's going to be Survivor Series / Continental Classic season. There's no such thing as an off-season in winter now, while both companies are attempting to, I don't know, be less boring. Maybe we can actually end 2025 in a high, because I feel like at the moment we'd all be happily just to switch it off and start 2026. But yeah, all that coverage will be coming your way nonetheless as the two main promotions continue to carry on their commercially successful rivalry, if not that creatively inspiring one, I would say. So yeah, tune in for all the weekly coverage from there. At What Culture, you can find me at Michael Hamflett on X as well.
Brilliant. You can find me over on Twitter at Benson Richard E as well.
And until next time, thank you for the house.
Shawn Michaels, I love you, but words get in the way. Good night, all.